Blasioniers and Blasianettes. If you have not seen the movie by now, I mean, this is a spoiler review, so go in my description box, click on my spoiler-free review, go watch that, go see the movie, and then come back to this video and then join me, and then join us in my topic in this discussion. So that is your warning to get out of here. That is your cue to leave. Now, are you gone? I hope so. Okay. Now, man, I love how this movie touches base on what people were complaining about Man of Steel, like how there's so much destruction in Man of Steel and so many people died and Superman is out of control and whatnot and whatever. And it's like, what kind of superhero is he? So many people died. There was so much destruction. There was way too much destruction in the movie. Wham 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 wham. And how they're saying that there was no destruction in the Avengers. There were no people died in the Avengers. No people died in the Marvel movies. False. People died. I'm not talking about the bad guys, but innocent civilians have died in those movies, and this movie touches base on that. And I'm glad that it does. Like in the events of both Avengers movies and in Captain America's Winter Soldier, yeah, they show that, and you see people, they're people. You see people deal with that too, like where there's a mom who says she lost her son, during the events of Avengers: Age of Ultron, and like even on Jessica Jones, they did that too, like where this couple blamed her for the events in the Avengers, and that she wasn't even there. I mean, she had nothing to do with that, but the fact that she has powers, and it's like, okay, that makes her responsible, so it's her fault. Like that's crazy. I mean, that's cool how Marvel's finally touching base on that and not making it look all kid friendly, like, oh, they saved everybody. Nobody died. Nobody died. No, people did. And especially in this movie, it's like this is like like when Scarlet Witch, when they're chasing Crossbones, and then she and then Scarlet Witch lifts Crossbones up in the air, and he has to bomb detonate it. She has him in the force field, and then it goes off, and then and then it blows, and then it kills people in the building right next to where he was lifting up in the air on, like right next to the building, and that's where the Registration Act gets slapped. It gets dropped right at their feet. Like, okay, this is getting out of control. You people need to be controlled. You need to be the property of the government, or you just turn. Don't do this anymore. I mean, don't do it. Just or you retire. Either you can be a fugitive. Either if you do this again and not sign the Registration Act, it's a wrap. and that opens the doors, and that opens the door for the villain of the movie to do his little evil plan, like where you're thinking to yourself, like, what is his reason? I mean, like, why is he doing this, and why does he want Winter Soldier so badly? I mean, like, what does he need? And it turns out that he needs this whole army of Winter Soldiers that is much worse than Bucky is. And then you see that in some of the flashbacks or in some of the footage, and the reason he does that is, like, how he keeps listening to a voicemail. I'm thinking, what is he listening to? Is that his mom or what? I mean, but it turns out that he lost his family during the events of Avengers: Age of Ultron. I think it was that. I think that's what happened, and that pain, like it's consuming him, and that's putting him in a very emotional position. Like, wow, okay, it's really, it shows you that it's really hitting people in so many different ways, like where they hate the Avengers for what happened in those events, and I'm glad that Marvel's finally doing that, and they're not just making it all kid friendly. You know what I mean? So and I also love how Black Panther and Spider-Man were introduced in this movie, like how they're basically their origin stories being told. More so Black Panther though, like after his father was killed, that's when he becomes Black Panther. Because so those of you who know the story, you read the comics of Black Panther. I mean, you know his story, but that's basically what happens. So the you know the title gets passed on to you know to T'Challa, you know, who is the current Black Panther, and then he's out for blood, and then he's ready to tear apart Bucky, you know, like literally. I mean, this villain puts every member of the Avengers at each other's throats, and he does it so cleverly, like way better than how what Lex Luthor did with Batman and Superman. Way better than that, hands down. Yep, I said it. I did not stutter. Hands down. and and I also enjoy how Spider-Man didn't become Spider. He wasn't always Spider-Man. He's like, it's been 6 months since he got his powers, and when the Iron Man goes to recruit him, he sees that you know, we see in the footage like that he is in the middle of being Spider-Man, like where he's not wearing the actual suit yet. And it's like a work in progress, and it's so shitty and everything. And then you're thinking, okay, a kid from Queens. I mean, this broke ass kid from Queens cannot make the traditional suit that he's gonna wear. So, I mean, so that's pretty cool that Tony upgraded his suit. So you know, that's cool how they touched base on that. Where, you know, he's, I mean, come on, the kid is broke as hell, and he's, you know, he's worrying about getting, you know, work done. You know, he can't really get a job. He doesn't have a lot of money. I mean, like, how's he gonna make his suit that awesome? Seriously. So this movie touched base on that. That's pretty awesome, and I loved how he fanboys out. He's in that transition, like where he's from zero to hero, and he's still working his way out of being a zero to a hero. So he actually becomes Spider-Man in this movie, and I think that's pretty awesome. And when he does, he's not. It's not like he's been Spider-Man for like a year or anything like that. So he's like, you know, he's like an ordinary citizen, and he just becomes like a superhero, like all of a sudden. And then, you know, this happens, and he meets some of the Avengers and Marvel, and, you know, like all the Avengers. I mean, my brain is cluttered from all the epicness of the movie, and he meets them, and he's like, "Hey Cap, I'm a big fan," and he's saying hi to everybody, even on the opposite side. He's just like, you know, complimenting them. Even Winter Soldier, like, "Oh, you have a metal arm? That is awesome, dude." I loved when that happened, and I mean, yeah, and I like how, you know, Spider-Man and Captain America have that little, you know, they have a little bit of a connection there, like where, you know, he was once a nobody, but he still had a heart of gold. But it's like he sees a bit of, it's like Cap sees a bit of himself in Spider-Man, where it's like, "Oh, you got heart, kid. Where are you from? Queens?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm from Brooklyn." So I like seeing the little connection that they shared. And I liked how he wasn't completely like, "Oh yeah, team captain, he's wrong," and blah blah blah. I mean, you know, he's, you know, basically doing his part, you know, like on team, you know, Iron Man's side, but at the same time, he's like, you know, like, I mean, I think at that point he wishes everybody would just get along. I mean, he just loves all of those guys, and it's pretty awesome. And and then you see how, you know, like everyone has a chip on their shoulders. Everyone has literally heavy weights on their shoulders. Like, you know, Captain America, Iron Man, and Scarlet Witch. You know, when she killed those people, and, you know, earlier on in the movie, and you see how that affects her, and then and then that dickhead Ross steps in, and then he, you know, slaps, and then he just slaps them with the Registration Act, and how he basically is like, either you become properties of the government, or if you you know, if we catch you doing this again, then you're basically, you know, breaking the law. You're breaking this new law. And I mean, like he has, I mean, his hands aren't clean. I mean, like his, you know, he had Emil Blonsky come over. You know, he had him shipped over to help him to capture, Bruce Banner, and so he can weaponize the Hulk, but he ended up becoming, you know, a another Hulk himself, and people died from that, and that's more on Ross's. That's more blood on Ross's hands than on, the Abomination's hands. Like I mean, same thing with Iron Man. Like about Ultron when he made Ultron, and that like that reminder when that woman said like his her son died in the middle of the events of Age of Ultron, and that hits him hard, and you understand why he quickly signs the Registration Act, and you get both sides. You're like I mean, oh, like in the middle of the debate, you're like you're almost afraid to choose a side. I mean, like, but I mean, like I'm like Team Switzerland. I'm like, okay, I'm just Team Avengers. Team Avengers. I can't deal with this. And Peggy finally earned her wings. She died a very peaceful death in her sleep. She slept peacefully, and then that's when she got her wings. And that hurt. That I think that hit Cap right. Like right where he lives. I mean, like where that really did break his heart. But at the same time, I mean, like he did have a little bit of closure with her, like because he got to see her again after he woke up, and it was a shock. It was as a shock to me as it probably as it was to him when he discovered that she was still alive after he's been frozen for like for so long. I mean, I thought that I was afraid that he wouldn't get to have that kind of closure or reunite with her, like after he woke up from his like long sleep. But that's cool that I think that's pretty cool that he got to, see her a bit before, like in her final days. And I'm pretty sure she appreciated that as well. Now, the airport fight, oh man, I enjoyed that from beginning to end. I mean, it was really epic. It was action packed. It was funny as hell, and it ended very tragically. And you know, and I'm impressed how Marvel edited that so cleverly. Like in the trailers of what happened to Rhodey when his chest piece gets shot out pretty much, and it's not from Winter Soldier, but it was from Vision. He was trying to attack Falcon, but he flew out of the way, and then it hit War Machine instead. And as he was falling and falling, I'm like, holy shit, holy shit. And then he just hits the ground like, poof. I was like, okay, I'm almost convinced that he's dead, but it turns out that he's not. He survived the fall, so like, whew. But um, and he's basically paralyzed. But it'll be like, and then I think they found, I guess, Tony gave him something to help him walk again. So like, I guess he's sort of using his legs again. Like this, that's when we last see him, where he's basically trying to walk again, and I guess his suit will basically help him do that. And Spider-Man Spider Sense, it didn't seem to be as reliable to him as I thought it would be. I mean, like he got hit quite a bit in this movie, and I mean, I get it. He can't, we don't want to see him dodge attacks all the time. And then it would seem like, get dull after a while. Like, okay, nobody can hit this kid. Like, really? But, I guess, as he gets better and, being in his Spider-Man thing, and then his spider sense will be more reliable. I mean, I guess that's what they're doing. I don't know, but I would at least have him dodge the attacks just a little bit more. Have him get hit like once in a while, but let him dodge the attacks here and there. I mean, that's just me personally. That's just a very minor nitpick. So, I mean, I don't really consider that a flaw per se, but I'm just saying I would have done it a little differently. But I still enjoyed the hell out of that sequence, and man, and just when I thought it cannot get any worse than Hydra, taking over, just basically taking over Shield and having having members in the government, and it's Like, I mean, like, how does it get worse than that? But damn, I mean, having the Avengers under, their control while bigger shit is happening, like with the other Winter Soldiers and doing is right, like, I mean, that's like a very tragic way to start Phase 3. I mean, like, that's like probably the most catastrophic, I guess, catastrophical way of starting Phase 3, and just when Thanos is around the corner, so that Thanos may be the wake up call that the government needs. Like, okay, maybe we were wrong about the Registration Act, and we need the Avengers to take care of this all powerful threat. You know what I mean? And also, like, when Thanos gets all of his Infinity Stones, I mean, doesn't that make Vision a goner? I mean, he has one in his right in his head, so that would basically, I mean, I mean, Vision could be killed off, and like when they fight Thanos, because he'll have all the Infinity Stones on his gauntlet, so that would make him a goner. And doesn't Scarlet Witch have one too? If I'm not mistaken, they did mention her having one as well. And I don't know, I could be wrong, but with that all being said, and then she'll basically be vulnerable as well. I mean, like, if that's true, and that's pretty crazy, and like and I have no problem with Tom Holland. He basically reminded me of Tobey Maguire all over again, like a much younger, more energetic Tobey Maguire, and I sensed a lot of Tobey Maguire in his performance, and it was pretty awesome. And I mean, he felt like it felt like a kid to me. I mean, and I really enjoyed it. And when Tony said, "Okay, you did good, kid. You're done here." I said to myself, "No, no, I want him to have more screen time." But I'm still happy with what we got with Spider-Man, and man, and sometimes I get lost into these moments and I forget. Oh yeah, it is a Captain America movie after all. I mean, everyone has a big role to play, and when it gets down to it, when Tony you know get, when he starts to see that maybe the Registration Act was a bad idea, he's going behind Ross's back and everything, and he's going to try to help Captain America, help him and Bucky, take care of the army of Winter Soldiers and get them out of the equation pretty much and whatnot. And then the villain's there, and then he shows the footage from 1991, and then as that happened, I was piecing it together. Like, prior to that, like, what if Tony's parents were in that car? And like, there was some minor speculations of Winter Soldier killing his parents, like way before the movie was even being released, even before they showed the trailer. It was like a year ago when people started to speculate that. I mean, and when Tony sees it for himself, it's like, it's like opening an old wound and poking, ripping all the stitches out, and then it's bleeding out literally. And when he asked Cap, did he know about this? And I mean, I went from feeling really hurt for Tony and really scared for Cap, and he said, yeah, he knew this. And man, and then he and that man that was and then it was just like all bets are off. I mean, he is bloodthirsty. He's ready to kill Bucky, and Cap's trying to stop him and try to, I mean, I understand why Iron Man is, hell bent on destroying Bucky, and that's not an easy process. It's a very common reaction, but Bucky was just as much of a victim as Hydra as anybody else, really. I mean, Hydra was controlling him, much like how Kilgrave was controlling Jessica Jones. It's like how Luke Cage got angry with Jessica for killing his wife, and Kilgrave, made her do that, and it's kind of like the same thing to some degree, and it's pretty tragic. I mean, like, it's a tragic fight. I mean, like I felt emotion in it. I mean, like with Batman and Superman when they fought, it was just like it, a good popcorn fight. It was a pretty epic fight. But this was not only epic, but it was heartbreaking and it was tragic and it was sad to watch too. I mean, like it wasn't just like, oh yeah, come on, get him. It was like, man, this is like it's like watching two of your closest friends going at each other, and all you can do is be just be hurt by it, and that's how I felt in this fight. And I think it's safe to say that Cap won that fight because he basically was beating him, and when he ripped, I think when he tore apart Bucky's arm, his metal arm, and it's off and everything, and that really set off Cap, and he's going after him, and it's like, I mean, like I know it's two different sides, like where you're protecting, the killer of my parents, and Cap's like, I'm protecting my best friend, and he was a victim of Hydra. He was not a killer. I mean, like Hydra brainwashed him. They controlled him. So I get both sides, and and that really set off Cap, and he shut down his his chest piece, and then it ends with them. It ends with them divided. It doesn't end with them united back, like united again. It like some like basically like all the Avengers who were captured, they're all hiding out, at Black Panther's homeland, and and then Bucky makes a conscious decision to freeze himself again until he can be cured from being brainwashed and not being controlled. Basically until he can find himself to be permanently free from Hydra's grip, from Hydra's clutches, and dag, I mean this movie was fantastic. It was great, and it was a beautiful puzzle to put together, and it had humor when it needed to be there, and it had drama when it needed to be there, and it had action when it needed to be there, and it almost made me get emotional at times, even during that last fight between Cap and Iron Man, and it's crazy how this villain gets these two friends at each other's necks, and it's really heartbreaking, and it's just heartbreaking, even more heartbreaking that they didn't end with all of them united, and it's like, wow. I think what will bring them together is the arrival of Thanos. That will bring them all back together at a much stronger unit. But until then, it's like Phase 3 would be like the most depressing, like story arc of of the cinematic universe. So like in regards to its main players, Captain America and Iron Man, and basically the Avengers as we know it. And I mean, it makes me wonder what Nick Fury would think of all this, and it would feel like there's no hope left. But Cap is still, I'm glad there's some little sense of closure where Cap apologizes to Tony about not telling him about his parents and whatnot, and wrote him a letter, and say, if you need us, then we'll be there, and so yeah, so it ends pretty sad. And I also forgot to mention when Cap defeats Iron Man, and he goes to walk away with Bucky, and he's like, "You don't deserve that shield. My father made that shield." And then he just drops it. Like there's something you can say against that. Like he has a point there. Like, and back at that moment when Tony is discovering that Bucky was the one that killed his parents, and he looks over at Steve, is like, "Did you know about this?" And then both of those things hitting him at once is just like, and you see the fire in his eyes, and you're just like I'd hate to be Captain America right now. You okay, Tony? You okay, Tony? So also Aunt May though, the fact that they made her a bit younger, guess it was bound to happen sooner or later. I mean, like they sort of hinted at that in the Amazing Spider-Man movies when he was, well, when she was made a bit younger in that movie. I mean, it's not like they haven't done it before, but they made her a bit younger in this movie, and more. She looks more like she looks accurately like someone's aunt. I mean, like, but I mean, they were gonna switch it up at some point. I mean, it was, they had her and Ben Parker like as like I guess elders for like over the years. So I guess it's like okay, it's time for a change up. I mean, I don't see anyone. I don't think anyone complained about making her a bit younger in the Amazing Spider-Man, and not to mention like even on Smallville when they made Clark Kent's parents a bit younger in that show. I mean like no one had a problem with that as far as I know, but with the whole Aunt May sort of having a crush on Tony and Tony thinking that Aunt May is hot and Pepper out of the picture. I my prediction is that in the solo Spider-Man movie, when Tony Stark doesn't make an appearance in that movie, that May and Tony could be a thing or a temporary thing or a love interest type thing. That's my prediction. But let's see. And with that all being said, I kind of want to see, I kind of want to revisit, Ben Parker's death in this version. I mean, like, see how, like, I guess, how she seems to be mostly recovered from that loss, and I want to see her go through that. I mean, like I want to see that. Like with her seeing her all hunky dory, and so like, oh hey, how was school, Peter? And like, oh Tony's here, he's hot. I mean, that makes me want to revisit that tragedy, like of Peter and May. I see them go through that. This version of Peter and May Parker go through that tragedy. Some of you may say, oh, we've been through that before, man. Like I don't need to see that again. I mean, like. For me personally, I think that would be fitting for this version of Spider-Man. I think it would make sense and not make her look like. I mean, it's been like what Spider-Man's been. He had his powers for 6 months, so it hasn't been that long since Ben was killed, right? So, it'll make her look less like, oh yeah, I'm ready to date again. Like I figured she would want to stay single for like at least a year, at least. But yeah, come to think of it, when it comes to all these characters who have their own movies, and they have sequels that follow them. Like there's Captain America, there's Iron Man, and there's Thor. Well, the Incredible Hulk is like, I mean, he has this just one movie, but and he doesn't count. Let's move him to the side. But Cap, Thor, Iron Man. So out of all three of these characters, which I think Cap has is the juggernaut. Like his solo movies are the juggernaut of the cinematic universe. I mean, each movie constantly tops itself. I mean, the other two, Iron Man and Thor, not so much. I mean, they had great starts, but it's just like, but I mean, they're good movies too. But comparing them to the Captain America movies, come on. Come on. I mean, like, if you think they're better than the Captain America movies, that's cool. I mean, that's your opinion. But me, I mean, like, no. Just not possible in my book. For realsies. But, yeah, this, man, this movie was pretty, man, I mean, like, and also, when Ant-Man, got bigger. I mean, I'm glad that they touched base on it. I'm like, when did he do that? Oh, I think he did that when he almost died in the Ant-Man movie, like when he was starting to be just disappear out of existence, and then he finds a way to get himself back into reality. I guess that's what he kind of did, but he sort of did that again when he didn't have to, and I guess, or maybe that's an upgrade thing that he had. I don't know. I mean, it could be one or the other. I mean, feel free to fill in that blank for me if you want to, but yeah, I don't know where I got that whole Scarlet Witch Infinity Stone thing. I don't know. I could have sworn someone mentioned that in the movie. I could be wrong, but don't judge me. I could have sworn I thought I heard that, but Definitely. And how about when like when Vision um was caught off guard because of he cares about Scarlet Witch, and that kind of makes him human in a way that he got distracted to the point where he accidentally hits one of his own teammates in this movie, and all because he was distracted from his how he his feelings for Scarlet Witch, and you thinking that he's coming to her aid, but he basically wants to sample up that Scarlet dip. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean that starts to show his humanity that he was caught off guard like that, and it's it throws hints at how they got together in the comics. I mean they're throwing hints at that. Like you see the chemistry is there. It's definitely there. So you can see that it was heartbreaking, like for her to go up against him, like like where it wasn't that there was no black and white decisions in this movie. I mean it was like everyone was trapped in a gray area where it's just one big fat gray fog, and they can't seem to find their way out of it. And like not even Cap. I mean, like he seems a bit conflicted too. Like where he almost signs the Registration Act, and he sees what's going on and what Ross is doing, and he's like, and then that pulls him back. That pulls him from the edge. From signing the agreement. But oh man, I mean, this movie really makes you think. It really makes you go in a circle. Like, I mean, they both have solid points here. I mean, like, I don't know where to go. But in the end, I was clearly on Team Cap, and I still stay on Team Cap. Yeah, Captain Rogers, you are the man. I mean, you my boy too, Tony. But yeah, I mean, Cap was more level-headed in most of the movie, and I mean, I totally understand why Tony had his emotional moments, and everyone had their emotional moments, like I said, and how Black Widow, how she surprisingly um, betrayed Team Iron Man and let Team Cap get away, and she's like basically actually more on Cap's side, which I thought she would be. So and I like how they referenced Hulk, like how do you really think like how she said to Tony, like, do you really think he would be on her team? Hell no. I don't think he would be on anyone's team. I think he would be as far away from this as possible. I mean, he wouldn't want to be any a part of it, and that's just enough to make him Hulk out before the war even happens. I mean, and the fact that Ross is at the helm. I mean, hell no, he does not want to be a part of that at all. I mean, seriously. So it makes sense for him to be absent in this movie. But I mean, yeah, and and another thing that's really cool is how it goes back to that old school, like old school days where nobody knows who the superhero is between him and he had a secret identity, and they don't know that one hero and the alter ego is the same person. I mean, like Spider-Man is the only one in this movie that has that, where nobody knows who he is. I mean, other than the the Avengers, pretty much in a way. And with that all being said, everyone, like the only members in this cinematic universe, since the Netflix shows are kind of connected to these movies, Spider-Man and Daredevil are the only two ones where their identities are on the down low, where no one knows who they are. Like where the public doesn't know who they are. So that makes it more interesting when when you have additions, where their identity isn't revealed. So that makes it interesting because everybody else is under a microscope. Like, oh, okay, we know who Captain America is, we know who Iron Man is, and etc. 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 I love how this third phase started. It ends with the team divided, and when it comes around the time when phase 3 ends, they're gonna have to come together, and the world is gonna need them together much more than they ever did. You know, like what Thanos, comes here and has all the Infinity Stones, and it's gonna be all hands on deck. They need to all be together. But this was a fantastic movie, fantastic start to Phase 3. Share your thoughts on the movie. Like, whose team were you on? Like, through like when you after you watched the movie, like whose team were you, Team Iron Man or Team Cap? Let me know in the comments section. And if you enjoyed this review, make sure you thumb up the video. Make sure you click subscribe, like I said, if you're new to the channel. And so I'm going to be reviewing Phase 1 and 2 eventually, so keep on the lookout for that. So I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, y'all.